July 2nd, 1937. Somewhere high above the boundless Pacific Ocean, one of the most iconic figures in aviation history disappears without a trace. The skies were clear, the weather calm, and the radio was silent. No distress signal, no mayday, not a single word of warning. Only an eerie quiet, a silence that has echoed through time, never to be fully explained. Was it a tragic crash caused by a mechanical failure or an unfortunate miscalculation? Or was there something more sinister at play? Was it a government cover-up, a secret mission gone awry, or perhaps something stranger, something beyond the realm of ordinary understanding? Today we unravel the enigma of Amelia Earhart's mysterious disappearance, a story of adventure, daring, and the unknown. On a fateful summer day, a legend vanished, her fate still uncertain, her story still whispered among those who dare to believe in the unexplained. This is Time Warp Thursday, where history's mysteries come to life, and today we take to the skies to dive deep into one of the greatest unsolved puzzles of the 20th century, the disappearance of Amelia Earhart.
The following is rated TV MA and is intended only for mature audiences. Viewer discretion advised.
Hey, welcome back to Talk Radio. It's Time Warp Thursday, May 1st, 2025, and we are ready to kick off another journey through the past with a fascinating dive into one of the most enduring mysteries of the 20th century. We are 121 days into the year so far. That's 2,904 hours, 174,240 minutes, or if you're counting, 10,454,400 seconds deep into 2025. And if you're the fraction type, we're exactly 33.15% of the way through this wild ride. I'm your host, Jonathan Riley, and today we're going to take a bold leap backward in time. Throw on our aviator goggles, not aviator, aviator goggles, and step into a mystery that has captivated the world for decades. We're talking about the unsolved disappearance of the legendary pilot Amelia Earhart. Now, Earhart was more than just a pilot. She was an icon, a trailblazer, a symbol of boldness in a world that wasn't quite sure how to handle a fearless woman breaking barriers left and right. She inspired generations with her flying feats, and in 1937 she was on the brink of achieving something monumental, completing a circumnavigational flight of the globe. But then she vanished. On July 2nd, 1937, Earhart and her navigator, Fred Noonan, I always like that name, Noonan, disappeared somewhere over the vast Pacific Ocean, leaving behind a trail of speculation, theories, and unanswered questions. Despite numerous searches and investigations over the years, we still don't know for certain what happened to her or where her plane ended up. Was it mechanical failure, a navigational error, or something even more mysterious? An encounter with forces beyond our understanding? Today we're going to unpack the theories, explore the clues, and maybe even offer some new perspectives on this historical enigma. So buckle in, friends, as we fire up the engines, engage our imaginations, and prepare to go time warping into 1937. What we find along the way, well, let's just say it might surprise you. Stick with us. The mystery is far from over. And who knows? We might just uncover some truths that have been hiding in plain sight. Let's dive in. Amelia Earhart and her navigator Fred Noonan took off from La Le Papua New Guinea. Yeah, I probably butchered that. On July 2nd, 1937, aiming for Howland Island, a tiny speck in the vast Pacific. This was to be the final leg of their historic circumnavigational flight around the globe, a journey that had already captured the world's attention. But this flight would become a mystery that has endured for nearly a century. The aircraft they were flying was a Lockheed Model 10 Electra, a state-of-the-art twin-engine plane at the time. It was equipped with the latest technology, including radio communication equipment that would be critical for navigation. The mission was groundbreaking, a part of Amelia's dream to be the first woman to fly around the world. But what began as an ambitious adventure turned into an unexplained disappearance. As the flight progressed, it became clear that something had gone terribly wrong. Radio transmissions from Earhart and Noonan began to get fainter and more difficult to understand. They reported that they were off course and their position was unclear. However, despite these troubling transmissions, they remained determined to continue and search for Howland Island continue. The U.S. Coast Guard cutter, the Itasca, was stationed near Howland Island to guide the duo in, but no visual contact was made. The radio signals grew weaker and soon they stopped altogether. What followed was one of the most extensive search operations of its time. involving dozens of ships, planes, and personnel. But despite their best efforts, no trace of Earhart, Noonan, or the plane was ever found. What we know for certain is that on July 2nd, 1937, Amelia Earhart and Fred Noonan vanished from the skies, leaving the world to wonder what happened. But here's where things get even more curious. Despite the exhaustive searches and widespread media coverage of the disappearance, theories about their fate began to emerge almost immediately. Some believed they crashed and sank into the vast ocean, their wreckage swallowed by the deep, while others speculated that Earhart and Noonan had been captured by the Japanese or had somehow ended up stranded on an inhabited island in the Pacific. Let me clear my throat. And that's where the mystery grows, even more tangled. Over the years, pieces of evidence, some more credible than others, have surfaced, suggesting that there may have been answers hidden beneath the surface of this case. Were their remains found on a remote island? Could the plane have been lost somewhere on a distant island, its wreckage still waiting to be discovered? Or could there be a more complex and unsettling explanation behind the silence of that final flight? Today, nearly 90 years later, we are still searching for answers, and the questions surrounding Amelia Earhart's disappearance remain some of the most perplexing in aviation history. So, did the search fail to uncover the truth, or is there still something lurking out there, waiting to be revealed? Could the secrets of the final flight finally be brought to light, or will they remain locked away in the vast expanses of the Pacific Ocean, just as Amelia Earhart and Fred Noonan were? Over the years, the disappearance of Amelia Earhart has given rise to dozens of theories, some grounded in fact, others more rooted in imagination. But what makes this case so compelling is that despite all the research, there is no single theory that has fully convinced the world. Let's break down the most persistent and frankly the most bizarre of them all. Crash and sink theory. This is the official story, the one most people accept without question. On July 2nd, 1937, Amelia Earhart, the pioneering aviator, was attempting to complete her around the world flight when she ran out of fuel and crashed into the vast Pacific Ocean. The facts here are tragic but simple. Her last known position was near Howland Island, and no wreckage has ever been definitively identified. See, sometimes these words get tripped up on my tongue. The theory suggests Earhart's plane ran out of gas after circling the tiny island in search of a safe landing. In the chaos of attempting to find land, it's believed she and her navigator Fred Noonan simply ran out of fuel and fell into the ocean. No remains, no wreckage, just gone, swallowed by the sea. It's a plausible explanation, yet some skeptics point to how conveniently it all fits. No real evidence, but just a conclusion that soothes the collective need for closure. Could there be more to the story, or is it simply the most logical explanation? Many cling to this theory, but for others, it's too neat, too simple. Gardner Island theory. Now, let's take a leap into the world of possibility where Amelia didn't crash into the ocean, but instead somehow made it. Bless you.
Sorry.
Some researchers believe that Amelia Earhart didn't perish in the waters of the Pacific. Instead, they think she landed on an uninhabited island, Gardner Island, now known as Nikomaroro. I probably butchered that. This theory suggests that after losing radio contact with the world, she and Fred Noonan tried to make an emergency landing on the island, only to be stranded. In 1940, a discovery added fuel to this theory. Human bones were found on the island. The bones, however, were later lost during World War II. and DNA testing on any remains found was inconclusive. But the mystery didn't end there. Other expeditions have uncovered possible signs of human habitation, including objects that could have belonged to Amelia herself, like a piece of her plane's fuselage and other personal items. But the theory remains tangled in uncertainty. Was this the last? Was this the final resting place of Earhart, or is it just another piece of a larger puzzle that remains unsolved? Captured by the Japanese. Let's go from plausible to the deeply conspiratorial. Conspiratorial. One of the most talked about theories suggests that Amelia Earhart didn't crash at all, but was instead captured by the Japanese during her flight. She was flying over territories that were under Japanese control in the Pacific, and some believe she was mistaken for a spy and imprisoned. There are claims that Earhart was taken to the Japanese-held Marshall Islands, where she was detained and eventually executed in secret. Supporters of this theory point to alleged photographs of her in captivity, as well as testimonies from supposed eyewitnesses who say they saw her alive after the disappearance. Some even claim that the U.S. government has covered up the truth for decades to avoid international scandal. This conspiracy theory is perhaps most enduring, partly because it's soaked in espionage, secrecy, and intrigue. Intrigue. Still, for all its drama, the theory is mainly based on circumstantial evidence and unverifiable claims. But that's what makes it so tantalizing for those seeking a hidden truth, especially in a case where the answers are far from clear. Then we have the double life theory. Let's delve into the realm of wild speculation. The double life theory is one that feels more like a tabloid headline than serious historical analysis, but it has its share of believers. According to this theory, Amelia Earhart didn't die on her journey. Instead, she returned to the U.S. and assumed a new identity as Irene Bolam, a New Jersey banker. This theory gained traction in the 70s when it was suggested that there were striking similarities between Earhart and Bolam, everything from physical appearance to personality traits. Some went so far as to claim that Bolam was actually Earhart in hiding, having faked her own death in order to escape the pressures of fame and live a quieter life. This theory is certainly dramatic, and like many such tabloid-worthy ideas, it relies heavily on coincidences and conjecture. There's no concrete evidence connecting Bolam and Earhart, but the allure of a long lost legend living secretly among us is enough to keep this theory alive in the public imagination. And then we got interdimensional disappearance. We come to the most outlandish theory of them all, the idea that Amelia Earhart didn't crash, get captured, or escape to a new life. She vanished into another dimension. That's right, some believe that her disappearance was the result of a Bermuda Triangle style anomaly, where her plane was sucked into another realm or time period entirely. This theory ventures far beyond the realm of science and into science fiction. According to proponents, Earhart's plane could have entered an interdimensional rift, potentially traveling to another reality or even through time. Some believe she was transported to a parallel universe where she's still out there, perhaps still alive, or stranded in some unknown world. It sounds like the stuff of sci-fi novels, but believe it or not, a surprising number of people subscribe to this notion. Of course, the theory is completely speculative and lacking any real scientific backing. It appeals mostly to those who love the idea of the unexplained and the supernatural. But for some, the idea that Earhart's disappearance could involve phenomena beyond our understanding is as enticing as it is perplexing. So there you have it, the most enduring and bizarre theories surrounding Amelia Earhart's disappearance. Each theory brings something unique to the table, blending fact, speculation, and imagination. Some hold more weight than others, but one thing is for certain. As long as the mystery of Amelia Earhart endures, so too will these theories, each one more elaborate than the last. The truth, it seems, remains elusive as the woman herself. So, why does this mystery still captivate us nearly 90 years later? Because Amelia wasn't just a pilot. She was us, the dreamer, the rebel, the believer in the impossible. She wasn't just flying airplanes. She was soaring above the limitations that society tried to place on her. At a time when women were expected to stay grounded, to follow a prescribed path, Amelia defied the odds. She took to the skies, not just as a pilot, but as a symbol of freedom, of breaking free from the confines of convention. She represented the spirit of rebellion, the desire to challenge the status quo, to embrace the unknown with an unshakable confidence. Amelia symbolized ambition without apology. She didn't ask for permission to dream big, and when she disappeared, it felt like a piece of hope went with her. She wasn't just a historical figure, she was a living, breathing reminder that we all have the potential to do the extraordinary. But in that moment, when she vanished, the hope that her dream embodied seemed to fade into the air, just like the trail of her plane. But the mystery, it keeps her alive in documentaries, books, podcasts. Here you go. Even video games. Amelia Earhart's name is whispered like a legend, echoing through the years. She has become more than just a person who vanished into the unknown. Her story has transformed into a symbol of everything we don't know, and maybe even everything we wish we did. The fact that her story remains incomplete, unresolved, pulls us in. We don't just want answers, we want meaning. We want to understand why someone so full of life, someone who embodied the spirit of adventure and hope, was swallowed up by the vast, uncharted oceans. It's not just about finding the wreckage or tracking down the final hours of her flight. It's about exploring the vastness of human ambition and the boundaries that exist between possibility and impossibility. We look for her because in her disappearance, we see reflections of our own fears, hopes, and dreams. Amelia Earhart is more than a mystery. She's a mirror, and that's why we still care. Because in every unanswered question, in every theory, in every story we tell about her life, we are also telling a story about ourselves. Her flight into the unknown resonates with something deep inside of us. The hope that maybe, just maybe, we too can reach heights others say are unreachable, even if it means vanishing into the horizon. Maybe we'll never know the truth. Maybe that's the point. Mystery is a mirror. It shows us who we are, what we value, and how far we're willing to go for a story that refuses to land. It's not always about having the answers. Sometimes it's about the journey, the questions, the speculation, the search. In a way, the mystery becomes a part of us, as it challenges the very fabric of what we think we know. We cling to these stories because at their heart, they echo the complexity of our own lives. We search for meaning, even when the story doesn't give us closure. And sometimes, maybe the mystery itself is the truth we need to find. What does it say about us? When we look back on these events, shrouded in uncertainty, and still feel drawn to understand. Thank you for joining me on this flight through time. Whether we unravel the past or leave it suspended in the air, your curiosity keeps the journey alive. If you've got a favorite theory, a hidden gem of a story, or perhaps you own Wild Earhart Rabbit Hole, or your own Wild Earhart Rabbit Hole, you know I want to hear about it. Drop me a message at this email address again, talkradiotimewarp at gmail.com. Talk Radio Time Warp at gmail.com. Or find us on social. I'm always eager to see where your thoughts take us next. Until then, stay curious, stay weird, and always keep your eyes on the horizon. We've got more mysteries to unfold, more histories to unearth, and most importantly, more adventures to share. Remember, sometimes the truth isn't as important as the journey to find it. This is Jonathan Riley, signing off.